Ready when you are.
Okay. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Paul Robeson and his speech he gave. So do you know what it's like to be in the spotlight no matter what you're doing? I mean, from like any little thing, sports, academics, politics. Most of us probably don't know what it's like to be in the spotlight every minute of every second, but you'll get a little gist of it in a second. So today I'm going to talk to you about who is Paul Robeson, what was the context of his speech, what about the content, and what impact did it have. So first off, who is Paul Robeson? He was an athlete, an activist, actor, singer, and lawyer. So he originally went to Rutgers on an academic scholarship where he entered a writing contest and won, and that's how he got, the scholarship. He was only the third black person to attend Rutgers at that time. While he was there, he played multiple sports and earned 15 letters in 4 years. So as you can tell, that's pretty much 4 sports a year he's playing. Well, on top of that, he graduated as valedictorian of his class. After receiving his degree from Rutgers, he went to Columbia Law School, where he played, or while he was attending Columbia Law School, he played football, professional football, I guess technically part-time on the weekends, just making enough to afford his law degree. Well, after receiving his law degree, he went to a law firm and left the law firm because of racial slurs between his coworkers, and that's what led him to his singing and acting career. So his father was of slave origin, and his father actually reached the highest status, not the highest, but he reached a high status, and they actually gave him his own church. Well, shortly after Paul was born, they took the church away from his father, and he got sent back down to the bottom. That's when he went and moved in with his aunt and uncle. And so, on top of all the other things he did, he was of course an activist and spoke out against racial injustice. So what was the context of the speech? Well, the speech took place at the Rockland Palace in Harlem, New York on June 19, 1949. So it starts off talking about a story about his life, and then he gets into racism in America, and as well as talking about his views on communism. So what about the content? My favorite quote from it was, and his brother actually told him the first little part of this: "Don't you ever take it, as long as you live. I realized years after how grateful I was for the example. I've never accepted any inferior role because of my race or color, and by God, I never will." So you can take that quote a lot of different ways. The way I like to look at it is, it's not going to accept anything less than what anybody else is getting. So basically what he was trying to say, is if a white man is getting it, why can't I? I'm not going to settle for anything less than that. A little more about the content. The speech was for freedom and peace. So like I said before, he starts off talking about his upbringing and the journey that he's come along, and then gets into the equality between races. And I actually have a quote from that where he says, basically he goes into bashing the country as a whole, saying that, we just want to be equal, and he almost takes it, some could say, too far, because he starts worshiping is not the right word, but he starts almost praising like the Soviet Union, talking about, well, I like the whole communist idea, and I will defend them as they've defended me and my brothers. So, that's not sitting very well with the U.S. guess, you know, when he's speaking in front of 5,000 people in New York giving his speech, the government's not really liking what he's saying about enjoying communism and talking about bringing it, or talking about how we should have that. So a little bit about the impacts that it had after he gave his speech. The government eventually brought him in and asked him to sign a testimony for, you know, just claiming that he's not a communist, and he refused to sign. So because of that, he actually ended up being labeled a communist, which is, you know, kind of rough when all you're trying to do is get equal rights for black people. But because of that, he also got banned from television, and so his acting and singing career kind of just went right out the window like that. But I will say that other countries did take notice in what he was trying to do, and I guess you can almost say the U.S. at the time was kind of blind to it about what he was really trying to do. But in India, they actually gave him his own Paul Robeson Day. So I thought that was kind of cool that other countries could recognize what he was doing. So, but, I mean, as you can tell, he didn't make any immediate impact, I'd say, from his speech, but I'd say it was a gateway to opening up for, you know, other people like Martin Luther King and stuff like that. So, the peerless voice of Paul Robeson, the man they put in silence. And that's it.